Mr. Klaus Stoffer, Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Program, Lord Stanley Clinton Davis, Chairman of the Selection Committee of the Sasakawa Environment Prize, Professor Mario Molina and family, Mr. Guillermo Fernández de Soto, Colombian Foreign Minister, Mr. Luis Alberto Moreno, Ambassador of Colombia to the United States, Mr. Alfonso Valdivieso, Colombian Ambassador to the United Nations, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Nora. I wish to thank you for the kind invitation to come to this sanctuary from where we protect and give intelligent thought to the planet's health, man's quality of life, and above all, from where we safeguard and enrich creation. I am pleased to be here representing a country that has so much to give and offer in terms of life. The reason I enjoy this so much is because a good part of my life has been tied to your thanks to the mission fulfilled at this institution by my father, former President Misael Pastrana Borrero, President of Colombia between 1970 and 1974. I still recall my father saying he was in urgent need of contacting Elizabeth Gilman Cox at the UNEP and calling out her fax number in Kenya by heart. He would always have someone double check and make sure his fax has reached its destination. He then started the task, the very pleasant task, of making travel arrangements to meet with all of you, who he cares for so much, and who compromise the intellectual and spiritual chapter he cherished the most and remembered dearly. During his 10 years as chairman of the Sasakawa Prize Committee, he focused his attention on gathering information, studying documents, and exchanging opinions. He had a great patience for reading and writing his editorial articles entitled Las Urgencias de la Tierra, or The Planet's Urgencies. He spoke to us about all of you. He will share your opinions with us, and he was convinced that this was the place where the new awareness of the earth came to life, that human ecology, which transforms man from dictator and dominator of nature into a true friend of nature, one who knows that its survival is closely tied to the survival of the planet, and that the quality of individual and community life is tied to the quality of life we offer the earth. History gave Misael Pastrana Borrero, as President of Colombia, the privilege of drafting the first Code of Environmental Protection that we will celebrate tomorrow, the 25 years, and he will admit to it with the simple and yet great pride of he who knows that he is fulfilling a great task. That conviction was fully supported. That conviction was fully supported by the wonderful United Nations report entitled Our Common Future in 1987, which together with the North-South, a program for survival on survival issues, are the true starting point for any reflection on social, political, economic, and cultural terms. I remember that back then we did not speak so much of globalization, and my father used to say that if anything were urgent in ecology, and following the road that McLuhan designed for communication, it will be the globalization of the sense of responsibility over the planet. Nothing could make him more impatient than hearing of growing erosion rates or increasing global warming or environmental pollution, because it made him feel that the promised land was being compromised. He did not understand those who turn ecology into a rhetoric of circumstance instead of taking it as the personal conviction that commit us to saving life in the world by saving the world's life. He loved repeating once and again the Native American saying that we do not inherit this planet from our parents, we borrow it from our children. And he will answer those who express doubt by quoting Don Jose Martí when he said that the battle is not between civilization and barbarism, but rather between false enlightenment and love for nature. He always said that ecology, two worst enemies are indifference and ignorance. He felt that generalized social injustice had turned men into predators, some because of their overwhelming consumerism, and others who, because of the extreme poverty, are forced to destroy to survive. He was always glad to adhere to conventions on world climate, forest conservation, protection of our biodiversity, or marine resources, the Antarctica, the ozone layer, the protection of international waters, or limiting the greenhouse effect and transport of toxic materials, because he was convinced that they brought to life the awareness of survival. He suffered with the indiscriminate fumigation advocated by those wanting to solve problems that are no doubt serious, but which bring with them greater problems that compromise life itself. He would urge others to fight the production of coca shrub and poppy seed throughout crop substitution programs and by offering farmers appropriate trading possibilities. He researched extensively and gave free rein to his creativity whenever dealing with the subject of sustainable human development. He never shared the pessimism of those who felt that economic and ecological development was impossible. He enjoyed playing with the etymology of each term and defined ecology as caring for the house and economy as performing activities for the house, and added that the two did not oppose each other. We used to discuss and reflect on all these things together, and when I look around this room, I recognize the faces and presence of the people he used to cite and call the prophets of survival. I have come here today to thank you twice, my friends. I thank you as his son and as President of Colombia for this initiative and for your support in creating this lecture to perpetuate and honor the legacy and memory of Misael Pastrana Borrero, former President of Colombia. Some say noblesse oblige, and I say to them heritage oblige, and that I was driven into politics by my deep-rooted conviction that we must do everything possible today to bring hope to survival. My government is convinced that the environment is both an instrument and a priority for building peace and achieving development. This is clearly reflected in the national plan that will allow us, by the year 2002, to hand over a country with recovered signs of a people living in peace, with social justice, solidarity, and coexisting not just with other citizens, but also with nature, which constitutes in itself a form of coexistence with coming generations. We say that water is a great articulator of politics in a country located by divine providence in a privileged place, in a biogeographic region rich in biodiversity and whose water supply, excluding groundwaters, is 6 times greater than the world average water supply. We spoke, and to this end, Mr. Klaustoffer must know that my administration will comply with the UNEP environmental policy, and that you will always find in me the courage required for fulfilling our obligation and enforcing our rights. Any country having the mega diversity of Colombia must have in place a comprehensive environmental policy aimed at establishing alliances, reducing threats, and opening perspective by restoring and preserving priority areas in strategic ecoregions, promoting and fostering regional and sectoral sustainable development, all within the framework of building peace. Water, biodiversity, forests, and clean production are the imperatives of my government action. To this end, I intend to strengthen our participation in the Convention on Changing Climate, the Convention on Biological Diversity, and other conventions on forests. By the same token, I am convinced that environment without awareness does not exist. I can assure you that the children and youth of Colombia are being educated in the protection of the earth. A couple of weeks ago, I addressed the European Parliament and say something I would like to repeat here and now. We must all show great concern for serious ecological damage caused by narco-trafficking every day. Our country, one of the 8 richest countries in biological diversity, is a country where illegal crops have destroyed over 1 million hectares of jungle lands, mist forests, and highlands. The depredation of nature is so irrational that 4 hectares of forest are destroyed to grow 1 hectare of coca shrub or poppy seed. Every year, over 200,000 gallons of herbicides, 16,000 tons of chemical fertilizers, and 100,000 gallons of poison are used in these crops, polluting the soil and water of Colombia. And I will say it again today. There is no doubt that all illegal crop-related activities degrade humanity's natural heritage, which is why we are all bound to stop the destruction and defend at all costs the human rights of future generations to a livable planet. Let us join forces now to prevent the near future from becoming our inquisitor, more so because of what we did not do and not so much because of what we did do. UNEP representatives and friends of the Sasakawa Committee, Mr. Klaus Toffel, Lord Clinton Davis, Elizabeth, dear friends, I thank you on behalf of Colombia, and I thank you on behalf of Latin America, and I thank you on behalf of all those of us who believe that a better world is possible. 2 years ago, summoned my father, the former president of Colombia, Misael Pastrana Borrero, to eternity, to live an eternal life, yet his place in the history of Colombia and America did not end 2 years ago. I have always said that the remembrance and memories are the small, immense eternity offered to humans. I entitled this speech A Compromised Promised Land, because this was my father's way of warning us of the urgent need to save the planet and in so doing, save ourselves. Thank you for honoring the memory, the testimony and commitment of my father, Misael Pastrana Borrero, a great Colombian, to the eternal history of the world. Thank you very much.